Sup world, sup Zion, it's Prince Easy coming at you in this fine Friday here that we're having. And as usual, I do have some materials that I want to share with you today. And of course, disclaimer for every material that's going to be shown here. So let's get to it. Right? So in this, I think at one point, as we grow, we're gonna have to have a deeper philosophical conversation about this statement here, right? It's confusing me. Let's just say that. It's confusing. So yeah, we shall see. Yeah, good move. I don't know why we shouldn't be, as people of East Africa, integrated with this system here. Why not? Yeah, what he said. Now these are the conversations that I'm glad to hear from Kenya. Not for our sake as Tanzanians, but also your sake. Right? As for the translation, the hungry youth. How are the hungry youth being used by politicians to instigate chaos? Right? This is also news that is coming out of Zanzibar. Right? The speeches are all in English. You can look it up yourself. And of course, my Muslim brothers, please msioshe mikono ya Waarabu kwa dhambi zao. Wao wana dhambi zao, Waingereza wana dhambi zao. Kwa yale yote waliyofanya huko bara na huko visiwani. Kwa hiyo msitumie hichi kigezo cha kwamba hawa ni kaka zetu katika imani basi. No. Haijalishi. Ulikuwa ni unyama. Full stop. Hata kwa Afrika ambao waliparticipate. Yeah. So this happened. Yeah. But still, they have plans and stuff, right? And here, there's a big issue brewing. They don't see it yet, but no, I see it. Now there are statements like this, right? There are now new labels, right? This is the first label in this here video that we're gonna cover. The rebel, right? Rebels. So of course, he was caught being out of pocket as usual, right? Showing their allegiance out in the public, right? And of course, their actions match their beliefs. They do. You know, I was I was watching this clip here when she received the news that Gaddafi was taken out. She was having an interview. She was so excited and giggly on the inside, just like a little child, you know. Yeah, again, they're continuing with their narrative, right? Again, the president has said on many occasions that the situation that happens is very unfortunate, and she also offered her condolences. But these people are they have this hearing issues, they have these hearing issues, and their ears are very selective to what they hear. Well, for this thing here, right, as per the last decision that was taken by Russia and China pertaining to the Palestinian issue. Now, I have seen many people cover this subject, but I think what is being left out, or rather what is not being talked about, is that Lavrov came here in an interview and said why they made that decision. The Arabs talked to the Russians and the Chinese, right? The Arabs talked to the Russians and the Chinese pertaining to what they should vote on, or pertaining, or rather not vote on. You understand? So that is what happened, right? I have not seen anybody talked about it besides Lavrov, and it was just a small detail that he just inserted in the midst of an interview, right? So that is what happened, right? So they are abstaining from voting comes from that. The Arab brothers of the Palestinians told them to, right, because they couldn't vote against and they couldn't vote for, because they didn't really support the endeavor. So the only option that was left for them, not seeing, or rather not supporting the cause, is to abstain. Right? It's a very diplomatic and very logical position, right? All things considered. So again, this falls under whatever unfolds. It's upon the Americans, the Europeans in that matter, and of course the Arab League over there. So this is the opposition leader from Uganda. Right? How do you say the country is not safe without saying the country is not safe? Have a military helmet and a bulletproof vest while this time in Uganda it's time for campaigning, right, for the presidential seat. And this guy is, of course, he has supporters, but no chance he's winning. Right? No chance he's winning. Right? Yeah. AFD has been a problem over there in Germany. You can look up the political record. The last time I heard, they were barred from even participating, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Big things right here. Big things right there. Yeah, I watched this situation here, at least the introductory remarks, and all I can all I can say is this: Macron is literally so shameless. I can't even, We're gonna see that. You can just listen at their opening remarks, right? You can listen at the Chinese remarks, and you can listen at the French opening remarks, and you'll know that it will just give you a digest of what a disaster. Oh my God. Why Afrikaner farmers? No, why white Afrikaner farmers? And all of these things, they're blessing in disguise. Believe me, even I'll tell the same thing to the Somalis or the Haitians, even the Africans who even deported themselves. Right? It is a blessing in disguise. Right? At the end of this world, you will understand. Yeah, now we have another terminology. breaking rank and stuff. Yeah, a lot of pants would fall, right? Especially after we found out what was uncovered over there in Brussels after the quote-unquote raid. Yeah, so this thing unfolded, I don't know, today or yesterday. Another deal, right? Or this is not, I'm not deja vu, or they're not, no, this is a separate one. Remember that one, Minerals for Peace? Forget about that, right? This is a new one. And of course, wow, can't even. Politics is rough. Let me just say that, right? Politics is rough, and not everything is as it seems. Yeah, we shall circle back to this pertaining to my nation here, Tanzania. So they signed a 20-year, 25-year health pact cooperation. Right? It's a good thing. So this is from the United States Embassy of Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. Right? So I haven't read through it, but we're gonna read it together here, right? So review of U.S. bilateral relationship with Tanzania. The United States values its long-standing partnership with the people of Tanzania, which has brought prosperity to our population and security to the region. Recent actions by the governments of Tanzania, however, raise grave concern about the direction of bilateral relationship and reliability of the Tanzanian government as a partner. As a result, the United States is comprehensively reviewing our relationship with the government of Tanzania. The government of Tanzania's ongoing repression of religious freedom and free speech, the presence of persistent obstacle to U.S. investment, and disturbing violence against civilians in the days leading up to the following Tanzania's October 29th elections required this consideration of our ties. These actions have put American citizens, tourists, and U.S. interests in Tanzania at risk and threaten to undermine the mutual prosperity and security that have defined our partnership for decades. The United States cannot overlook actions that jeopardize the safety of our citizens or the security and stability of the region. The future of our bilateral relationship with the government of Tanzania will be based on its actions. Okay? So that is what was released right today, if I'm not mistaken. So another thing was released today also, and this statement comes from, you shall see, joint statement on recent events in Tanzania, date 5th of December 2025, press and information team of the delegation to Tanzania. Joint statement by the British High Commission, the Canadian High Commission, the Embassy of Norway, Switzerland, Belgium, Denmark, Finland, France, Germany, Ireland, Italy, the Netherlands, Poland, Slovakia, Spain, Sweden, and the EU delegation on recent events in Tanzania. Okay, now you're gonna see some tinier cropping because of this cookie request here. I don't need cookies, especially from the EU, please. Okay, so they go on to say, we recall the statements by high representatives on behalf of the European Union 2nd November 2025, and the joint statement from the Foreign Minister of Canada, Norway, and the United Kingdom 31st October 2025 on the elections in Tanzania. We deeply regret the tragic loss of lives and numerous injuries in the wake of the elections. We recall the government's desire for peace and stability and underline the importance of security forces acting with maximum restraint. We reiterate our call on the governments to uphold their security forces acting maximum restraint. We reiterate our call of the government to uphold their international commitments to protecting fundamental freedoms and constitutional rights to access information and freedom of expression for all Tanzanians. Credible reports from domestic and international organizations show evidence of extrajudicial killings, disappearances, arbitrary arrests, and concealment of dead bodies. We call on the authorities to urgently release all bodies of the dead. All bodies of the dead to their families, to further release all political prisoners and allow detainees legal and medical support. We further call on the government to address the recommendations made in the AU and SADC preliminary election reports, which set out clear shortcomings in the electoral process. We welcome the government's recognition that understanding the root causes and the circumstances of the violence, including death is a vital step towards justice and reconciliation. Any inquiry must be independent, transparent, and inclusive, bringing in civil society, faith-based groups, and all political actors. Okay? So we got hit by two statements, okay? Beginning with the one from the US and ending with the one from the EU. I don't know what to say, brothers and sisters, right? I don't like to repeat myself usually, right? I do not like to repeat myself usually, right? And we can go through this whole release here, and basically you can see the tone that is being used, right? And mostly I would like us to focus on a particular point which they really liked us to pay attention to, right? Because it is so out of place, right? Of course, the government of, beginning here, the second paragraph, right? The second sentence, right? The government of Tanzania's ongoing repression of religious freedom, which is not true. Okay, as I've shown you here, many memes. There are literally memes out there of people trying to normalize religious freedom and expression. So you can come here yourself to see this so-called repression of religion. Well, they are talking about a very particular church, a Western sponsored church, not just a Western sponsored church, but from what I know, it is a church sponsored by the Americans, right? A mega church from America. And this particular bishop was also a politician. And of course, his congregation was partially responsible for what unfolded in our country, the chaos that unfolded in our country. So there isn't such a thing as a religious repression, right? And of course, the presence of persistent obstacles to US investment, that is what I would like us to focus on here. It is not really veiled. Like I said, these people have no shame, right? They have no shame. They bring terrible deals. Believe it or not, this government of Tanzania here is very numb. Do you know what NAM is? NAM? Non-aligned, right? Non-aligned. And as per the president's recent statements, they have been pressuring her in secret to pick a side, so to speak. And the only people that I know that put people under such pressure or such kind of pressure are the Westerners and the Americans. And that's the truth, brothers and sisters, right? If you listen to her speeches, she said it exclusively, hatufungamani na upande wowote. And what did she get for that? If you listen to the last speech that she made, when she was talking about the Europeans, she suddenly caught a quote-unquote cough. Yeah, that was a weapon. So not only is she dealing with colonial governments like these ones here, she also has to deal with people who have been sold nonsense and bullshit, basically. Right? And there isn't any disturbing violence against a citizen. I'm a citizen here, and I can say there isn't any disturbing violence that is perpetuated specifically by the government. No. There are incidences just like everywhere else. When law needs enforcing, it's exactly that, enforcing. Why do you think it's called enforcing? And not, I don't know. So, of course, if you don't want American tourists to come here, it's fine. Right? And your US interests in Tanzania, you can keep them. Right? You can keep them. You can keep your tourists and your interests. That's all I can say to that as a Tanzanian citizen. We don't need your nonsense. Yeah? We don't need your nonsense. Okay? So you can reconsider that. Okay? So it's fine. You can care about your citizens. They are your citizens, and you are looking out for their best interests. So tell them if it's not a safe country, they should leave. Don't make it our deal. No, this is your responsibilities. Don't pass on your responsibility for. You have obviously taken responsibility for your people, so take responsibility for your people. Right? And the region is stable and secure. Thank you very much. If you don't sponsor chaos using the Ford Foundation here in Tanzania. Okay? So, to these governments here, There's a lot. There's a lot, okay? So they all gave a joint statement. First and foremost, I do not believe that this is a joint statement. I think this is a more of a British statement, okay? Even though there are some entities within their nations that agree to this nonsense here, right? But I need to remind you this, right? All of these things that you're saying here, all right, these are dictates, and this country has refused dictates by anybody. Okay, so we are not gonna accept this requirement here that says any inquiry must. That's your mistake right there. That is your mistake right there. That is your mistake right there. So first and foremost, you want us to use independent bodies. So you're telling me that you as the EU, for instance, are you willing to let the Indians or, I don't know, the Russians or the Chinese to come investigate any incidents that are happening in your space? Is that the case? Is that what you have been doing? Independence is synonymous with sovereignty. Okay? So if whatever these bodies, basically what you're saying is that these bodies must produce or rather reproduce what you desire, or else you label them as not independent. You have already picked a side, right? And of course, it's the same goes as in transparent, right? What do you mean transparent? So whenever outcome that comes out that does not fit your narrative is not going to be transparent. And what do you mean inclusive? So you want the government to involve civil societies in criminal investigations. Is that how it works? Is that how it works? And of course, faith-based groups, of course, that point. You remember the US Embassy statement? You can almost see these people communicating their nonsense, right? Faith-based, again, the Catholic Church, not the church per se, but some priests and this particular bishop. And all political actors. What if the political actors are part of this problem? Because we do have some opposition women, a woman from the opposition who came out and actually apologized because she knew that her party, the opposition party called Chadema, planned this whole thing, and she even made a press release. But again, you know, these Western medias, you know, they have hearing issues, you know, and sometimes even their visions get blurry. You know, it's like they have I don't know, some sort of natural censorship or something. So everybody who is involved is known. It is known for us as citizens of Tanzania, at least it is known. What is left is the confusion that you people using your social media platforms are instigating and targeting and amplifying using chatbots and stuff, you know. I know all of these things. Okay, and all of these accusations, extrajudicial killings, disappearances, arbitrary arrests, and concealments of dead bodies. What do you think this government is? In that same speech, or before that, it was said clearly, if you have a missing person, report said missing person. Just as usual, use the available channels. And if you are is among the dead, then they are among the dead and you'll be handed over the body. Right? But time has been given for a report to be prepared. The president gave them 3 months to go and examine the root of the problem. And of course, this is well known. But again, these people have, hearing and understanding issues, their media and even the political elites, right? They have issues with their hearing. So yeah, this is a outright attack on our sovereignty by these two colonial entities here. So just like in the past, we are in the front lines, right? For the Sub-Sahara, we have always been the front line, especially SADC. So we do what we do, be the front line, join everybody else, right? And as usual, we're gonna be fine, right? Whatever they take away, we can get somewhere else. Believe me, you. So this coercion that is going on here is sad, right? And pertaining to the AU and SADC recommendations, that's exactly what they are. Recommendations. They are not dictates. Okay? They are recommendations. Okay? And we have the right, or reserve the right, to consider them or not consider them. Now you do what you want to do with that information. And of course, we call on authorities to urgently release all dead bodies to their families, right? To further release all political prisoners. That is a dictate, right? Even the bodies, they can be withheld if they are under investigation. That is just how things goes. But that's not the point, right? They're not here crying for the dead. We know how they feel about the dead. Ask them about Gaza, right? They don't give strong statements like this, right? Detailed, right? Right? But their point was the release of all political prisoners, right? Who are you to classify one as a political prisoner? Are all politicians in prison political prisoners? Is that the definition or something? And of course, they are not denied legal nor medical support. Literally, their person, that guy that I showed you, Tundu Lissu, they literally sometimes stream the court proceedings. How are people these people are shameless. These people are shameless. I can tell you that much, okay? These people are completely shameless, devoid of shame at all. Right? So these so-called political prisoners, they are not denied medical attention or support, as they phrase it, or are they not allowed legal Literally, after every court proceeding, there's a huge press release where the Tundu Lissu's lawyer come out and say, how are they then, do they have the nerve to say that these people are denied legal counsel? It's like the level of dishonesty is crazy. This jealousy here is crazy. You can see it, you can see it. So the whole point of that whole debacle over there in China, it was embarrassing, right? Just by the statements, it was embarrassing. I don't know what else. I don't know how further he embarrassed himself in that whole ordeal, but he did. Okay, he did. So this here, right? Good. Says Sky News Australia. Okay, we shall find out, won't we? Are these people asking a wolf to protect their herds of sheep? Look at that. 53.1 million tons. Wow. They might need some freedom. Eh? Yeah. Also, Oxford. Right? These stories almost write themselves. The level of disenfranchisement. Right? Yeah. Right? Can you even believe this, right? That people over here in Africa are feeling terrible about what is happening in Gaza, and still there are individuals that are betraying their own. So we shouldn't be surprised that even such individuals exist here in Tanzania. We shouldn't be. We should just be meticulous at finding them. That's the only way. Right? No shame whatsoever. It's crazy. So yeah, I know I went on and on and on and on. But yeah, Africa, I know the whole of Africa is watching. And a lot of friends all over the place, from all over the world, right? Even the opposition. You don't wanna go that route. You do not. Right? But again, we have spoken about this again and 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 again. And it's almost redundant. So yeah, that is what they usually say about a country that is truly free. Truly free. The only vulnerability that we have is that they might insert their own politicians, democracy and all, So what can be done? Yeah, we just make a robust system, or rather filter, for who can run for office, right? And have that under, and on top of that, surveillance, that any leader in office has to assume that they're under surveillance 24/7 during their time in office. Just robustness, that's what is needed to secure Tanzania. and we're gonna write our constitution soon. I'm saying our constitution because we, of course, just like most African countries, adopted, right, foreign constitutions. So yeah, when it gets to that, we're gonna have conversations about that. Right? What is needed is just a robust mechanism to specifically secure our land and who gets to have access to it, right? And I've seen a recommendation out there saying that it should be under the security forces. That is a sure way, right? That not any politician to just get into office and just give out our land willy-nilly like this, right? We don't have such a problem here in Tanzania. But again, we are preparing for what is gonna or can possibly unfold in the future, right? We are a very blessed country, fortunate and even unfortunate sometimes, right? So don't be frustrated. Pivot. Expect and pivot, right? The interest of this nation, the things have to get rolling. Business has to continue. We are important. Let's just say that. We are extremely important. And failing is not an option. Right? Failing is not an option. So even though those who we fight for do not even recognize, that is not our purpose, to be recognized by men, right? But to do what is right in the eyes of God, right? And just that, right? Men are finicky creatures, right? Very finicky. They feel like this one time, they feel like that another time, you know. So the only stable party here is your creator, right? Serve with fear. That's a friendly advice. Serve with fear. That's what has kept me going, kept me on the game, rising and rising and rising and rising and rising, because I serve with fear. So anyway, let me put a pin on it right there, and we're gonna see each other when we see each other. Prince Easy signing out. Love you. Bye.